Welcome to the Butetown Buzz podcast. I'm Mohammed. I'm one of your hosts today, and today I'm joined with.
Daniel, I'm another one of your hosts.
And we are joined by the lovely Helen Williams, who is the one of the assistant directors of the education in Cardiff. So, uh, uh, just to break the ice a bit, just let us go. Could you tell us about your school experiences, and then sort of work our way around? It's a bit of a big question. I'm not bad.
Okay. So I went to different schools because we moved quite a lot. My first school was in Essex, which was it had its own swimming pool and it was a lot of fun and it was very interesting. Great teachers. Then we moved to South Wales and I went to a primary school here and then I went to a school, Cowbridge School, which is in the Vale of Morgan. Fantastic. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the teachers and I loved the learning and I just absolutely love school. I don't really think I've had any terrible experiences in school. I was shouted at quite a lot in my art lesson. I always remember Mr. Brown shouted at me once because I dared to question him about something in an art lesson. He went absolutely crazy and he called me, what did he call me? Oh, precocious. And he was shouting at me across the classroom. It was awful. But apart from that, I don't think I really had any bad times. I love school. I really did love school. But, you know, but I was lucky, I suppose. Some people don't like school, but I loved it.
Were you a well-behaved student?
Very good question. Depends who I was sat next to. I had a friend called Kerry Brooke, and we used to spend a lot of time laughing and getting told off for the back. But if I was next to somebody else who's a bit, not so funny, then we'd be fine. But I listened, but I was, I was a bit giggly and a bit silly at times, yeah.
Could you give us an overview of your job, like what you do?
Okay, that's right. So my job is probably the biggest job I've ever had. So at my age,
21. Yeah.
yes, bless you. Such a charmer. At my age, taking on a big job like this is like it's a real step up, and you realise how hard it is to learn new things. Like you're in school, it feels a bit like that. It's like huge. So I'm learning huge amounts of things I didn't even think I ever would do or know about. So my job is about, what is it about? It's about making sure, ultimately, it's about making sure that the people I work with make the right decisions for young people of Cardiff so that you get the best education you can, you get this value for money that you are getting the best deal. And that comes a lot of difficult questions and things to figure out. So I work with a really good bunch of people who that's what we want for everybody in Cardiff. So that's my job. But I have to work with schools as well, with head teachers. I go into schools a lot. I listen to head teachers. I go to meetings with lots of head teachers as well. And head teachers help me and I work with them as well. So it's a brilliant job. I didn't think I needed this job, but I really needed it because it's been so brilliant and I've loved it. I was a bit daunted at first, but I love being in Cardiff. I love my job and I'm very fortunate to have been offered it, to be honest.
Have you ever gone to a school and thought, wow, I've had a great impact. I think I've really got across to the students and just like really made an impact on them?
I think as head teacher before, when I'm executive head teacher, I think I have. One of my jobs, the job I had before this I was what's called a director of school improvement. So in England, there's a different model with schools. In Wales, you don't have this model, but basically you have a sort of family of schools that all work together. And so part of my job was if a school was in crisis or it was a bit dysfunctional, then my boss used to say, right, you need to go in there and help sort it out. So I would support head teachers or I'd support whoever needed it. So I think I've made a big difference to quite a few schools. And I think that when you have a good school, the impact on the community is really, really significant. If you've got a school that's failing, that also has a really negative impact on children and staff that turn up every day. That's tricky. So changing schools around to have a better culture and a better understanding of what children need and learning and making a difference has a massive impact. And I think that's been the best bit of my job. And I've worked in some really difficult parts of East London where there are a lot of families who are struggling in many ways, and working with families and supporting them and helping them and making sure that their children really feel proud about themselves is something I like to do. Yeah, I think I have had a big impact, but I think I can do more. So that's what I've got to figure out.
So you've been to a lot of schools in Cardiff,
Have.
around. So which one has your been? So I've messed up here. Which school have you enjoyed the most to go to?
Oh, and do you know what? That's really unfair. I can't say one because that wouldn't be fair. But I'll tell you what I will say.
Give us your top 3.
No, I'm not going to do that. I tell you what though, and this sounds again a bit cheesy, but every school I've been to since I've been here, each has been a really amazing experience because I've met some amazing head teachers and students, and each school is really different. Different ideas, different values, different way of doing things. And I went to 3 really fantastic schools today. I'm not going to say which ones. But everyone I've been to has been great, actually. It really, really has. Yeah.
So do you find that there are any big flaws in the school system that you're hoping to tackle?
Blimey. We talked about absence, attendance, students not being in school. So there's lots of things happening in Wales at the moment that are changing. There's lots of reform. So we've got new curriculum for Wales that's come in. We've got ALN strategy in the Code of Practice. That is how children with learning difficulties or need are integrated and included in learning. So I think, I don't even know what your question was now. I got lost.
What? Okay. What problems do you see in the school system that you're hoping to target?
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think it's about embedding. I think lots of schools in Wales are going through a lot of change, and with lots of change comes people get very anxious about change. They get slightly overwhelmed. So I think we've got to now embed all the new reform that's going on in Wales at the moment to make sure that it's really embedded in, and that the changes have had a positive impact on young people. That's what we need. Yeah.
So you mentioned absence. So how are you going to tackle that?
Oh, well, as I said before, we need to listen and understand why a lot of students aren't going to school, and what barriers and what challenges they're facing and why they're choosing not to go to school. I mean, COVID had an impact. I think that's changed a lot of things, but that was a long time ago. You know, that's 3 years ago. But why are still students a little bit anxious about coming to school, or why have they not got back into the habit of doing that? What do we need to do to get them back into schools? They've got to go to school. Education is it's transformative. It changes people's lives. It's brilliant. You can do anything you want to do. If you want to go to university, you know, whatever you want to do, you've still got to get a really good education, and that can transform children's lives. So that's a big question. Why are so many children not going to school every day? I don't know the answers to that. No, it's fine. I don't know. We need to listen. It's complicated.
As someone who educates, do you have an inspiration in your field? Like someone you look up to? You find, wow, they're just inspirational to me. I really wish I could be as good as they are.
I'm not sure there's this one person, but what I do is a lot of reading. And I listen to a lot of different people who've written about education and the impact of good education, and this idea that it's about developing the whole child and about being successful and about being part of something that's really meaningful and belonging. So I don't think there's one person. I'll probably drive home tonight thinking, yeah, no, I should have said that. But I just think you have to listen and read and think about, there's so many different ideas there. So one person inspirational in education, probably not. Actually, there's lots of people, lots of different people I've read over the years that. I'm not answering your question very well. I'm not sure I know the answer to that, actually. Anyway, I'll think about that one. I don't know.
Get back to me. Text me.
I will. I'll text you later.
So I've asked quite a lot of questions. Do any of you have any questions?
What would you say was the biggest change coming from East London to Cardiff?
Wow. The accent, the rugby. Do you know what? I think that young people, wherever you go, are very, very similar. They all have similar issues. They all have similar interests. And actually, I don't think there's a lot of difference in the schools. I think we are very similar in many ways, and you wouldn't think it, but it's city to city. It's a different city. London's, really rich with, there's such diversity. It's a very interesting place. There's all this stuff going on. It's the same in Cardiff. It's full of diversity. There's loads of things going on. And the young people are just as inspirational as they are in London. They just have a different experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I suppose that's the nice thing about schools being spread all over the country. For example, in Wales here, we have both English-speaking and Welsh-speaking schools as well.
Absolutely.
So it really does.
I think it's amazing. And if I'd have brought my children up in Wales, I would have liked them to go to Welsh medium school. Because talking to you earlier, being able to speak English and Welsh and learning German in Welsh. And I've been to schools, Welsh schools, that your children are learning, they're speaking English and then they're speaking in Welsh and then they're doing German, they're doing Spanish. It's just incredible. And to be able, I think that's underestimated, the power of being fluent in two languages or more, depending, because people speak different languages at home as well. So they could be trilingual or have more languages. I think that's an amazing skill. And I think that's something to be really proud of. And I love that. I went to an assembly the other day in a school, and we talked about the pride of being Welsh and Welsh heritage and Welsh, the language and the history of Wales. And that was really, really, you might have been in the same, you were in that assembly the other morning? You might have been there. And then we had some people from New Zealand who came over. Were you there?
I gave them a tour of the school.
Did you? Well, I was there as well. And that sort of link between communities, that importance of heritage and culture and linking with your past and your language and how important it was. And they sang in Maori, and then some of the students sang in Welsh to them back. That was amazing.
So you say that students inspire you. How do they inspire you?
I always think that older people, underestimate people of your age. Okay. I think that you have so much, life is so more different for you than it was for me at my age. You've got so much more complex things to deal with than I had. And I think what inspires me is that you are more aware than I think my generation was in terms of understanding global issues, about diversity, about inclusion, about what's going on. And I think if you ask a young person a question, they will always hit the nail on the head. They will give you honest feedback. There's no stuff. There's honesty, and that always inspires me. But also, you're the next lot. You've got to. I'm going to be dead by the time you lot are running the country. So we've got to make sure that you lot are in. You know what you're doing, and I know that the next generation, because I have 3 children myself, they are really, really passionate about the value that they bring. It's a different idea than I was growing up. It's more about global issues. It's more about what can we do for the future. I never thought like that when I was your age. It was all about me and what I was doing, and it's different. So that inspires me.
It's been lovely having you on, and thank you for answering all of our questions.
Thank you.
And goodbye.